My most memorable experience in Macerata was probably the first night when we arrived. It was this nice evening, clear skies, and when we arrived to the hotel in this city that we had never been to, this culture we're just now experiencing, we just hear a lot of commotion coming from the older part of the city. So a few of us, once we got to the hotel, we explored around and just found a very surprising amount of nightlife. There were so many people out just involved in this culture that we're exploring, and there were so many different concerts going on. I don't really know what the whole event was, but it was a great welcome into the city. My favorite thing to do outside of classes was to meet the residents of Macerata. The really nice thing about Macerata was that it's not a Rome, it's not a Venice, it's not a Florence. You have the authentic Italian culture there. It's not trying to prove anything, it's not full of tourists. So you really get to be an outsider and start to live within the culture and become part of it that you had never experienced or seen before. And so that was really rewarding, and getting to know the residents there was great. I don't speak a lick of Italian, but figuring out how to communicate with the people in that city was really fulfilling, and some of the people were just so patient with helping communicate to you, even if you would just completely close down emotionally and just lock up because of how nerve-wracking the experience would be. My favorite restaurant in Macerata is easily Trattoria d'Ezio, which is the best restaurant I've been to in my entire life. We managed to make it a few times, and each time it was better than the last. The two people who run the restaurant are some of the most entertaining and just lovely people I think I've ever experienced. And getting just to be welcomed with open arms into their restaurant and learn more about them and experience authentic, wonderful food was definitely a highlight of the entire program. My favorite excursion during the Macerata program was probably the day we went to Loreto, which is the place in which Mary's house is located today, the house that supposedly Jesus was conceived in. It had been moved during the Crusades. So getting to see a monument of that stature, of that importance, was really eye-opening, especially living within the United States and going to see something that old and that significant was really an eye-opener. One of the really nice things about the Macerata experience for me was that we had three-day weekends, three-day weekends in fact, in which we were able to travel around Italy and experience different cultures. So myself, along with a group of others, were able to travel to Venice for a weekend, able to go to Naples and Pompeii, climb Mount Vesuvius, and that was just so great to have that time set aside to see, you know, the more traditional sides of Italy, the more iconic landmarks and locations we were able to see while also getting in touch with the authentic culture within Italy. The most memorable trip I took during my Macerata experience was definitely when a group of students, including myself, traveled to Venice. It worked out where we just kind of had one day to be there, a block of 24 hours or so. And the plan came together perhaps a little bit too quickly, where we didn't think about things, and we decided, oh, we'll stay at this camping place, and kind of just felt okay about that. And when we actually got to Venice, it had taken us much longer than we expected because of train delays and whatnot. That was definitely a challenge, learning how to navigate a foreign country when things go very badly. We finally got to Venice that evening and explored around, and it was so great. It met all of our expectations. And then we started to get tired and realized, okay, we don't have a place to stay. That led to an experience in which we were wandering around the streets of Venice by ourselves until maybe 2 or 3 in the morning, and weren't really sure what to do about that. So eventually, after wandering around, we finally found a place where we were able to stay. The man working there allowed us to rent out this very tiny room for the evening for 4 of us. And we got, I don't know, 2 or 3 hours of sleep before heading to the train station. The whole experience that evening really taught me to plan ahead, to use my time better, but also just the raw adventure of the whole ordeal, as stressful as it was so great and was honestly fulfilling in some strange way. And it was something that I think Filiberto had some things to say about, but I wouldn't have changed anything about that experience, and I think I've taken away a lot from it. My advice for future students of the Macerata program would be to not be afraid to completely immerse yourself as much as possible. It is very nerve-wracking, especially at the beginning, trying to live in this city, especially if you flew into Rome and you're talking to the people in that city and they speak English, and that's really nice and kind of heartwarming that you know English. And then you move to a city where you're completely on your own, and it's a challenge, and it can really affect your confidence. But just jumping in and really trying to communicate with people, trying to learn as much as you can while you're there, is a very fulfilling experience, and I think it is a skill that you can bring back home with you, of learning how to communicate with people in general, despite whatever language you're speaking.